Greetings programs, and welcome to a short video on making videos by request of, I can't even remember his name now, but basically I had a PM from somebody who, after me mentioning that I'd upgraded my video editing software and was able to change my workflow a bit, they wanted to know the specifics basically, and I thought, why not? It doesn't take me long to make such a video, and so here we are. So yes, the upgrading question was from the consumer version of, as it was, Sony Vegas, or Sony Vegas Movie Studio Platinum HD, or I don't know, it had some really long collection of words as a name, and I never could quite remember. But basically I've gone from that to the Pro version, and it's a different company that owns it now, but it's essentially the same software with a few extra bits. Now, this represents a pretty decent upgrade for me, because the consumer version is alright, but it lacks some features, and one of the biggest things that it lacks is the ability to import lots of different types of video files. It was very limited in that regard, and why that was relevant is because Bandicam here, which is what I use for my recording, and there are other recording types of kinds of recording software available, but Bandicam being what I use, that has sort of limited options, kind of, in that it's only got 2 container types available, and previously when I was playing around with the consumer version of Vegas, or not playing around with, but you know, using it, it could only accept MP4 containers. It would not accept anything with an AVI file type. And why this mattered is because with the MP4 container option on Bandicam, you can only choose between H.264 and MPEG-4, both of which are compressed formats. So Bandicam is doing the compression on the video as it's going along. Now, why this matters is because you've got that compression going in from your source video, and then when you're rendering it in Vegas, it's then compressing it yet again. It's like saving a JPEG file multiple times. It worsens the quality because you're going through multiple levels of compression. So for me, being able to then, that's the wrong settings button, for then being able to go to an AVI file type, which gives me more options, including some uncompressed options, that has meant that I can go in with higher quality input video. Now, I'm specifically using Motion JPEG. There's a couple of, I mean, you've still got H.264, you've got XVID, MPEG-1, and you've also got some, you can choose from some other codecs if you choose the external codec option. But these 3 here, well, technically Motion JPEG is kind of a compressed format in that it's using JPEG compression. It's literally saving every frame as a JPEG image, which, as you can imagine, produces quite large files, especially at the higher quality settings. But it's not quite true uncompressed video, which is what these 2 here, the YV12 and the RGB24 options, you need a lot of drive space for those. This is true lossless, you know, video recording, which is good from a recording point of view, because the amount of overhead needed for Bandicam to actually process those files is minimal, unlike doing an MPEG-4, H.264 option with the MP4 container, because it's having to process as it's going along. Motion JPEG is kind of a compromise in that it is using JPEG compression, and as you can see, I've got fairly high quality settings. Sometimes I even use the 100% quality setting, so that can produce like tens of gigabytes of video for 10 minutes of recording. But as I'm not keeping around these source videos beyond rendering the final output, it doesn't really matter. So what that means is I'm basically getting higher quality input for the output in Vegas. And that's where the improvement in quality on the channel has come from, in that we're just getting one less level of compression going in. Because bear in mind, previously it was compressed on the source video. It was then compressed when it was being processed in Vegas, and then YouTube was compressing it as well, and of course that level of compression is completely out of your hands, and that's still the case, but it's removing one of those layers, so in theory the output is better. Now just to round off this video, I will show you what my current render settings are. It does vary a little bit from video to video. Now for most of my videos I use the and this is all in Vegas, but the main concept AVC render settings, and I've got two set up here for 30 and 60. I'll bring up the 30 template so you can actually the 30 FPS template so you can have a look at the settings yourself. This is probably higher than it needs to be. It could probably be like 10 or 12 or something like that, but the upload speeds are not so much a problem for me as they were as they used to be. So something like a 10-minute video, which is this in the background, I think that was like a 1.2 gigabyte file after that processed. So that gives you some idea for 30 FPS. 60 FPS isn't actually going to take up, it's not going to give you that much more in terms of the final output size, but 60 FPS videos take longer to do because I need to do some pre-processing in Vegas before it will smoothly give me a smooth preview video to work with. So that's what I do for most videos, but occasionally I use the Sony AVC option, which is a much quicker render, but also it's a lower quality render, and it's not just the bitrate size, it's the actual, like, the processing of it basically. So sometimes I use that, and this is probably what I will be using for this particular video. It's what I use for the second channel, where it's like just static backgrounds, and the fact that it's going to be a quicker render is what matters, rather than the overall exact quality, because there's nothing going on in the background basically. So yeah, that's basically it. You use the AVC settings if you've got them. If you're using Vegas specifically, you want the main concept one if you're going for quality. That's what I always use for my gameplay videos. But there are also other options that are quicker to render, because the main concept AVC, like in fact, just one of the problems with Vegas overall that they've never quite addressed is the render times are quite long compared to some other programs. I was doing some back when I was deciding whether or not to buy Vegas Pro, and it was because it was on a hefty discount. I did look at other things like what's the Adobe one called? Premiere. And I looked at that, and I was doing some test renders, and I was just like, this is so much faster, even with the exact same hardware. So that's one of the downsides of Vegas specifically. But yeah, it all works. It all does what it needs to do. So there we are. That's my current workflow, more or less. Just record the input, stick it all in Vegas, and hey presto. And it's just that one less layer of compression and the ability to use a different input format that has made all the difference, or at least some difference. So hopefully this was useful to somebody somewhere. You can leave your own video rendering experiences below in the comments, I guess, if it's relevant. If not, you can hit the like button. You can, of course, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, stay tuned for more.